If there's one thing I've learned over the course of developing this game, it's that your first idea is not normally the best idea. For me, this applies to the level layouts, which I've reworked several times. It applies to the UI, which also went through a few iterations. And most importantly, it applies to the game mechanics. A simple idea like picking up and throwing items eventually evolved into these weapons that also act as a way to heal your health. My goal from the start was to make a set of mechanics that interact with each other in meaningful ways. You pick up a weapon and use it to damage enemies, but it can also protect your health with armor, or you can just heal with it. The defensive options provided by the weapons fit really nicely with all other mechanics in the game. It's the offensive options that I'm struggling with. All weapons have their own attack types and combos, which makes using each one feel a bit different. Beyond standard attacks though, the player needs to have some other offensive options in order to make combat feel more interesting. I originally tried doing this using the magic spells, where you could equip 2 spells and use them after a cooldown. I like these abilities, but it felt completely disjointed from every other system. Also, for a while, you could throw weapons as a long-range offensive option, but it never felt worth it to lose the weapon that way, even when I combined this with the lightning spell. I've been working with the mindset that if healing yourself required sacrificing a weapon, then it made sense to also make it so offensive options like spells would do the same. The problem is, I'm pretty sure that healing is too powerful of an option to make it worth sacrificing the weapon in any other way. Even if it did a lot of damage, an offensive option seems rarely worth it compared to surviving the fight longer. I'm starting to realize that there's a missing piece to this whole puzzle, some kind of mana or energy that builds up over time by damaging enemies. Hollow Knight is a perfect example of this, where hitting enemies gives you soul to spend on abilities. A system like this fits perfectly into my game. You use weapons to damage enemies, which in turn gives you some energy. Over the course of the fight, you're building up more and more energy until you're full, and at that point you can charge your attack and cast your spells. This extra damage is a free reward that comes from fighting. And since it doesn't destroy your weapon, players will be encouraged to utilize their magic over the course of any fight. To further tie this back into the main mechanic of the game, I think that sacrificing a weapon could not only heal your health, but also heal your energy. Or maybe it heals your energy if you're already at max health. Either way, I think this is a great option, since if there's any excess weapons laying around, you'll always have a reason to sacrifice them for magic so you can cast more spells. In general, I'm very minimalist with game mechanics. With that in mind, I've been really resistant to add a whole new system, especially one that adds more clutter to the HUD. I think the trade-off here is worth it. Everything is clearly communicated, and the bar acts as a reminder to utilize the spells once they're available. Speaking of, there's going to be a few different spells that you'll find throughout the game, and the next one I'm working on is Fire. When you cast it, the weapon you're using gets superheated, and all enemies that you hit with it will get burned. I wanted to do something different from the typical fireball or damaging spell, where instead, the spell directly interacts with the core weapon system. The big question I'm struggling with though is how to handle having multiple spells. An option that I'm considering is that as you learn new spells, they all get cast at once. So if I've unlocked both fire and lightning, then both abilities would always activate once I cast. The downside of having everything activate at once is that it limits any sort of strategy during combat. You're just waiting for the energy bar to get full, and once it is, you cast and repeat. It would be cool if you had to decide which spell you wanted to cast, depending on the situation. I'm trying to figure out how having multiple spells would work when you cast by holding down the attack button. That leaves me with a few ideas. First is that you could only have one spell equipped at a time, meaning that you'd need to plan ahead which spell to bring with you. Probably better though is if you could change your spell on the fly, where you can cycle through each one, or have them assigned to the D-pad or the number keys. But I always wonder if there's some unique idea that I'm missing. A while ago, I was actually planning for each spell to activate depending on how long you charged the cast. So a short cast was lightning, and a long cast was fire, and that's how you choose your spell. This would not require any extra control bindings, which makes it seem like a good option. But also, I doubt this would be more fun in the long run, so I've been back and forth on everything. If you have any ideas, please let me know your feedback in the comments. Just a heads up, the Steam demo is missing some of the updates from recent videos. For a long time, I would combine each video with its own corresponding Steam update, but this has made videos take too long to come out. Instead, I'm doing larger updates to the demo that contain several videos worth of changes. So expect the next Steam update in a couple weeks. In the meantime, I'll be posting more often on YouTube, so feel free to subscribe for more content like this, and thank you so much for watching.